Okay, so here we are right near where I plant the potatoes. So during winter, I actually put a tent over them. So as you know, potatoes don't like the frost, so we need to protect them from the frost. So here's what they look like. So here's the little tent that I use that are now covering the tubs. Not all the tubs have potatoes planted in them yet, just a couple of them. So I do like to stage them a little bit. It's got plenty of ventilation and also around the back as well. It maximises the sun and it also protects the plants from the frost. So that's what I usually set up during winter, and I have done a couple of tubs with potatoes and they have just started coming through. I'll just open these up here so you can see. So here we go. I've got another plant in the middle and one at the end, and just going across to the other tub, we've got one's just starting over here. There should be another one at the other end, but that hasn't come through yet. But anyway, that's basically what I do, is plant them. I'll show you some more video later on as they start to get bigger. Oop, there goes the tent. But yeah, you can do potato crops all year round.
This is our current crop of potatoes. You can see they're looking alright. There's 3 seed potatoes in there, and over in this other tub over here there's another 2. That tub was planted a week later than the first one, hence the difference in size. But they're looking very healthy. They get full morning sun out here up until 1 o'clock when the sun's overhead, but they seem to be liking their conditions. This is part of our current potato crop. You can see they're growing very, very well. They get watered every day, they use a lot of water, and they get fed once a week, and that's why they're putting on that rate of growth. And there's the other tub over there. These are planted a week later, that's why they're not so big. But these guys are looking very, very good.
Okay, so with planting our carrots today, I've moved into the barn because with the seed side of things, because they're so tiny and it's so windy today. I didn't want to take a chance of losing half my seeds in the wind. So I've come into the barn and where we do our hydroponics, and I'm going to actually start preparing the seeds for planting. So I've got the all-season carrots, so they can be grown all year round. So I'm going to grow these during autumn and winter in the front of the house where we get plenty of sunlight. So they're quite happy to grow as long as you don't expose them to too much frost. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to germinate, and also then looking at about 4.5 months before they're actually ready to go. So we're looking at starting to get back into spring again, but we'll have carrots ready for early spring to enjoy with our salads. So they're so tiny and they're very hard to spread without clumping them all up. I actually mix them with a very fine sand. So I'm using some of this sand. Yeah, so it's actually aquarium sand, very fine sand that you can use. There's no salt in it, it's for freshwater fish. You can't really use the normal sand you get for the playgrounds and stuff because there's a lot of salt in it. So don't use that. You need a sand that's very fine, dry, and no salt. So let's try and see what we've got here in the way of some seeds. So here, just open the packet. Very tiny packet. Just want to make sure it's open, yes. And I've got a tiny little container which I'll put some of these seeds in. So there's over 250 seeds of this tiny little container packet. So anyway, I'll just pour some in here, see what we get. I've already probably put in 100 in that tiny little shake. So I won't do any more than that. I'll just put that aside for now. And get a little spoon of sand. You don't need a lot, just enough to mix it through. Just maybe a spoon like this and swirl it through so it's spread out in amongst the sand. Hopefully when you go and pinch across the top of the pot, it'll even out a bit If you do find once they've germinated and they start to plump up, then you can actually, once they're a few inches tall, pick some of them out, just to make sure that there's room for the carrots to actually grow and expand. Hopefully that'll help us spread the seeds evenly and do the job. Hello gardening viewers, it's Georgie here. Today we're going to actually plant some carrots. So yes, you don't just need to plant carrots in spring, you can also plant them in autumn, winter. The only thing you've got to be careful of is that you don't expose them to too frost. So here we go. What we're going to do is just literally, and I'll take my gardening gloves off for this because the seeds are so small. We're just going to sprinkle some of these seeds. There's about 100 or so seeds in here. I'm hoping they'll come out fairly evenly. If they don't, it's not a big deal. Just let them germinate, and then if they're a bit clumpy, just remove some of them so whatever's left has plenty of room to grow and develop. So I'm really just going to put some in the palm of my hand like so, and get this down carefully here and rub my hands together and just do this. So all you need is a very fine layer of soil over the top of this, no more than 5 mil. And I wouldn't pat the soil down at all, just leave it all nice and light, fluffy, invasive, then just dumping the whole lot on top. Just going to sprinkle the top over with some soil, and then we give this a nice light watering. Okay, so let's get this nice and light bit of watering. Make sure we moistened at least the top few inches. You don't have to wet the whole bag just yet. It happens once the seeds have germinated and the seeds come through. So what we want to do is avoid getting this to dry out in any way. So what we'll do here is also we'll put a piece of cardboard on the top, push the sides in a little bit, stop them from drying out, because while they're germinating they don't actually need a lot of sun. And then we'll put something on here to hold it down, and we're done.